Hello, welcome to another episode of the Knock On podcast, brought to you by the good people of Zero Tackle. And Dan, it's cold. It's really cold tonight. That's why I'm in the lounge room here. But it hasn't stopped the news rolling in from rugby league, and you've got all of it. What's happening?
Look, first of all, I'm going to declare a shark-free zone because I'm sick of talking about them. So no
Is it
more.
a Lachlan Galvin free zone?
No, not at all. We've got to get a bit of Galvin in there. But let's start with the big news today. Cam Munster has been named the new captain of Queensland. I think it's a fair enough decision, but it does show that there's perhaps a little bit of lack of leadership in there. You had Harry Grant, who is the captain of the Storm. I had to look that up because I thought it was Munster. What are your thoughts on Munster being the captain for your beloved Marines?
I don't understand how someone can captain their state when they are not the captain of their club. I thought the obvious answer to this was Harry Grant and Tino as the vice captain. And I've got to say to you that Cam Munster would have been about 5th or 6th on the list for me, because I would have had Pat Carrigan ahead of him as well. I think, I know he's only just come into the side now, but in terms of leadership, you'd be looking at Tom Dearden. But I know he was never going to get it, but I'd have him ahead of Munster in the pecking order. But look, there's a reason for it. There's a reason why Billy Slater has named Munster, and I don't know if that's to fire him up or to stick a rocket up him or whatever it is. Truth be told, you probably just need to send him out on the piss for a couple of weeks. But, yeah, look, it was always going to be contentious. I think, sometimes sport can just become a bit overcomplicated. Like, you can see what the correct answer is and what you need to do. So you've just got to look like a little bit zesty and go and do something completely different. At the end of the day, good on him. He's one of the best players in the competition. He's arguably the best 5'8" in the competition. Yeah, sure.
Says to me, Cameron, this is your team. Get us home, win us an Origin in Perth. That's how it comes across to me. I don't hate it. I think Munster's a fantastic. I had a bit of a joke with it early saying, culture, because of some of the things he's done. There aren't many Origin players with a really, really clean record. Isaiah Yeo, of course, aside. But the reason they need a new captain, mate, is because they've moved Daly Cherry Evans on. A lot of people are calling him a scapegoat. I don't think he should have been picked for game one, honestly, and was proven correct. What happened to the famous Queensland pick and stick, mate? A lot more difficult when you don't have 5 future immortals sitting in your team, huh?
Yeah, look, I think pick and stick has got Queensland in the spot where they are. Because they have, picked and stick with players who maybe haven't deserved to be there for a while. And, it's this... The thing for Queensland back in that golden run that they had was there were players knocking on the door, and you could name like 2 or 3 guys that missed out on Origin. You're like, Jesus, man, like any other decade, they would have 3 series, no doubt, under their belt. Now you're looking at it for Queensland going, well, this is our best 18, and there's no one bashing on the door to get in. Like, Selwyn Cobbo got dropped, and I thought that, one of the options would have been to put Cobbo on the wing and Valentine Holmes in the centres, or drop Valentine Holmes altogether. But, yeah, I think the whole pick and stick got Queensland in this predicament where they are at the moment.
Yeah, I think a lot of people, myself included, jest about that, because Queensland used to say, you got to pick and stick New South Wales because you keep losing, pick the same losers. I think you pick the best team. I don't care who the incumbents are. Obviously, you do cut a little bit of slack for the rusted-ons, but you ultimately pick the best 17 at the time and you name them. So I'm okay with the changes. I think Capewell coming in is a smart move. No,
it's not.
Look, I think it's better than starting Ruben Cotter on the back row.
Although has missed 75 tackles in the NRL this year. Like, you can't tell me he's better than Beau Fermor.
Look, no, he's not. But I'm a New South Wales fan, and I want
Yeah.
what's terrible for you. So took the joke right out of my mouth, mate. But we'll move on to a player you mentioned before, actually, Selwyn Cobbo, who in the last 24 hours has been reportedly seen talking to Wayne Bennett, who is the coach of one South Sydney Rabbitohs. Before you respond, it looked like Talon May would return to rugby league via South, which we both agreed is probably his best bet at it, being he goes under Wayne Bennett. Definite last chance saloon. He's obviously spurned and gone to the Tigers. Don't think that works out in either way. Selwyn Cobbo, he's a player who has plenty of talent and probably walks into that South Sydney team. What are your thoughts there?
Selwyn Cobbo is exactly the type of player they need in their back line. When they are naming guys like you and Aitken in the backs, then definitely. And I get the appeal of why they were looking at Talon May. I just don't get the appeal of Talon May the person. But, the minute the Tigers knocked on his door and his brother's there, obviously he was going to go back. And there's reports that they're going to get the other May as well. So keep that one open for zero tackle. But yeah, look, Selwyn Cobbo has, him and his manager come out every year and go, he's happy in Brisbane, he's happy in Brisbane, he's happy in Brisbane, he loves Brisbane. It doesn't matter how shit they treat him, he's happy in Brisbane. And he probably needs to escape Brisbane. Now, I thought, at the time when they first came into the competition, I thought Selwyn Cobbo screamed brand new Dolphin signing, and then they went and got the hammer. So I think that closed the door, and I can't see Selwyn Cobbo going to Townsville. So obviously a Sydney-based team is the right move for him. Although how frightening would it be if he went to Melbourne and replaced Grant Anderson? But yeah, South Sydney, he knows Wayne Bennett. He knows what Wayne Bennett can do for him. Yeah, good move.
I think it's tremendous for club and player. I 100% agree he needs to get out of the Broncos. He keeps getting dropped up there. Obviously, there's attitude issues. It's the dang guy effect. Super talented players can't get it right somewhere, goes elsewhere and becomes a star. I think he just needs to move and go sit under Wayne Bennett. If you can't make it under Wayne Bennett, well, just give it up. Go play rugby union or something rubbish. So I think it's a good move. I don't know where Souths find the money, but Cody Walker's broken. Like he came back and he's injured again.
You can't look at that South Sydney team and tell me they don't have money. That side's dog shit.
Yeah, but you got Latrell that's on a lot of money. You got White, who didn't come cheap. Cody Walker's on a bundle. There's a fair few forwards. Yeah, Ken Murray, don't forget, he's still being paid despite being injured. They brought Lewis Dodd on a pretty penny. So I think Wayne Bennett will make it work. I think if Cobbo goes out, I think you'll see the best of him. I think he needs to go. Now on to a bloke that we've had a little bit of fun at his expense because it's really, really easy. We booed him and he told us we don't know anything about football. Might be right. I would retort, though, and say perhaps Adam O'Brien doesn't know anything about football. Jackson Hastings, reportedly his partner, said something that upset some players' wives, and they dropped Hastings. No one's come from Newcastle and said, no, that didn't happen. That's not why. So we have to assume the reports may possibly be true. Jackson Hastings is back this week. Obviously, Pong is playing for Queensland. Puts young Fletcher Sharp back to fullback. Hastings at 7. He's quite easily their best number 7. I think they got there in the end, and I think it's an easy way for him to get him back in without upsetting the players' wives, although he's already upset the entire Newcastle fan base. So what's a couple of players?
Yeah, look, I think, this just comes down to pure stubbornness from everyone at Newcastle not picking Jackson Hastings. You can see that they've needed something different. They've tried Tyson Gamble, they've tried Cogger, they've tried everyone in the halves. The young kid, Fletcher Sharp. I think he's the one that needs to stay, and I think the combination needs to be Hastings and Sharp. That's the combination, really. But yeah, look, Adam O'Brien. You say what you want about your fans or whatever. He probably knows that he's on the way out, and he knows he's got that clause up his sleeve where he's going to get a pretty penny on his way out. So he can upset anybody he wants to, and it's not really going to make a difference to anyone. What I will say, though, is he needed to bite the bullet on this probably about 5 weeks ago and bring Hastings back. And if not 5 weeks ago, then probably 8 weeks ago when they started looking like shit and couldn't score points. I know Hastings, everywhere he goes, trouble seems to follow him, and that's just the nature of the beast with some players. Unfortunately, if you get the reputation of being a dick, that stays with you. But you're not like it's not the corporate world, right? Sport is cutthroat. sport is sport, and you might have this guy on your team who is a complete and utter dick, but if he can win you a football game, he needs to be in there. Like, and at the end of the day, if Adam O'Brien gets sacked and the next coach comes in and plays Jackson Hastings and they go on an absolute massive run and score a bundle of points because this guy came in, Adam O'Brien would be looking back on, you know, I tried to appease the players and I tried to appease the fans, and I should have just picked the guy who could have got the job done for me.
Exactly right. I look, I don't know what he said. I don't know what was supposedly said. I don't care. James Maloney's a well-known pest. You can't round up a team of 10 people that tell you, oh yeah, we loved having Maloney there. It's just a guy, he just rubbed people the wrong way. Bloody good footballer, and he achieved success everywhere he went, except Penrith. Just wanted to get that jab in. I'm with you. This is 10 weeks too late. You should have started the season and stayed there with Fletcher Sharp. You can't put a rookie half in with, Jack Cogger, who's played 5 games for Penrith and was okay and stunk the bed last year. I don't know what Adam O'Brien's deal is. He just seems to find 2 decisions, make the wrong one every time. Anyone who's anyone could have told you the one thing you don't want to do in Newcastle is bag the fans when you're on a losing streak, because they're going to stick by it. Okay, they turned up and won, but if they lost 40-0, would he gone on and said they don't know football, or geez, you were right to boo? I just think that's something a bloke in his position needs to.
I think he was incredibly lucky that they came and won that game, because then he could make that comment. But you're right, if it was 40-0 and they booed, he probably would have been like, "You guys should have booed louder."
Yeah, well, he should have. I'm glad.
Because he would have been there going, "I'm not the one missing the tackles. I'm not the one kicking the ball out on the full. I'm not the one dropping the ball over the line. It's the players, boo them off."
True, yeah, get them, boys. Now, look, I'm glad to see Hastings back. I like him. We've heard some really good stories with a good mate of ours. So good on him. I hope they go really well. And Hastings is man of the match this weekend. But I'm moving from positive to a negative. Or somewhat a negative. We saw Lachlan Galvin debut the other week. Those that missed the 37 promo package and 2 replays at half time, Lachlan Galvin plays for the Bulldogs now.
Oh, wasn't that thing from Matty Johns just cringe?
Mate, he throws a forward pass. It went forward, but it was a good forward pass. I don't know how much they had to pay that bloke to do that. Oh, my God. Disgraceful areas. But Galvin's in, and it looks like Reid Marnie's out. Now, after the game the other day, there's some telling footage of Reid Marnie getting hugged by, I believe it's Cameron Serrato, turning around, throwing his headgear down, exhaling and kicking the thing. He knows he's gone. He's been told, you got to go. This is a guy who's lived and breathed the Broncos. He's a bloke who's been scapegoated numerous times in the media about being a bully and this and that. And, he's a bloke that's easy to dislike, let's be honest, but everyone needs him. Now they've got this golden child who's come in, and they hook Reid Marnie on the day. Evidently he didn't know that was going to happen. I'm not completely sold on that. But he got taken off. Young bloke Galvin went on, and Sexton moved to 9, etc., which I think is probably the play for the rest of the year. But after the game, someone said, now I don't know who it was, so apologies if you're watching by any chance, said to him, "Oh, what do you think of Lachlan Galvin? It was really good." And he's like, "Yeah, well, we got to say that, don't we?" And sort of walked away. It's a shame to see Marnie react that way, because it's a bloke who knows his paper stem. He might not even be the club next week.
I mean, Marnie's been named at 9 this weekend against the Rabbits, but I think you're right. He's been tapped on the shoulder and told that he can go. And Cameron Serrato obviously went up to him at the end of the game to be like, "Hey mate, it's the game plan. We had to get him in there," and he's reacted the way that he has because, whatever. Reid Marnie's a guy who plays 80 minutes. And had this been told to him at the beginning of the week that, hey, Galvin's going to come off the bench and you're going to be the one, Marnie's reaction may have been different. Straight up, I think you need to play your cards right away, and just whoever's going to be dropped has to be dropped from now on, because I know Burton's the 18th man for New South Wales, so Galvin's playing 6 this weekend. What happens when Burton comes back? Who's going to be the pissed off player?
Probably going to be Marnie. They've pretty much come out and said it's not going to be Connor Tracy, because you don't want to upset too much. You just want 1 for 1. I don't know. 6 Sexton's at 9. Maybe Harry Hayes goes there. They got Kurt Mann playing for Origin. He played.
Well, I mean that's the thing though. If you're talking about Sexton goes to 9, and you don't want to upset too much, you're now swapping 2 positions out. Wouldn't you just get rid of Sexton?
That makes sense, but it looks. Well, Marnie's reaction says to me, he knows he's on borrowed time, and we were sitting here a couple of weeks ago linking with other clubs because evidently he went to them or the Bulldogs went to him and said, "Who knows?"
He's been told that he can go elsewhere.
Yeah, so I think he'll end up at the Cowboys because Reece Robson's on his way back to Sydney. I think that just makes a lot of sense. And it's a good signing. Who knows? Canberra only have 3 hookers. Maybe they go fourth. Who knows? But
Does he go back to Parramatta?
Well, they need him because Audi Reed Marnie got bodied the other day and had a shocker. I think Riley Smith or whatever his name is will be fine, but it's funny to say. There's plenty of teams that'll be in for him, but this is a bloke who's been made like the face of the club for a couple of years. And now this new shiny toy's come in. They're like, okay, see ya. And he's reacted the way he has. And a lot of fans are sentimental about Marnie because they love him and they stuck up for him when he, attacked one of our players on the ground and got off scot-free and ruined it for everyone. But sucks to see. And I'm not a huge Reed Marnie fan because of what he did to Cronulla, but I'm also a pretty big Reed Marnie fan because he's the kind of player he is and he's fun to back. But the new shiny toys come in, mate, and someone's got to make way. It looks like it's going to be the headgear number 9.
Ah, well, this as we said, rugby league is a cutthroat sport. We've been sitting there, saying it across multiple platforms. Someone's got to go. When you bring in a new shiny toy that you've had to snatch from another club and you've had to snatch them off another club, someone's got to make way.
Something's got to give. Now on to something that upset me earlier, and now I think about it's really, really funny. Across the weekend, we saw 2 incidents, Terry. Let me run you through. Jerome Luai and Ziggy, lots of surname, great referee, young referee.
Shocking referee.
Well, I just wanted, yeah, okay, I'll give you that. Run into each other. Pretty forceful, to be honest. Ziggy falls over, everyone gets up laughing. Jerome Luai goes across, they have a laugh, they shake hands. Complete accident, happens, whatever. Everyone laughs it off, it's forgotten about. Next day, Sutton pulls back. Dylan Brown, who's running through, goes whooshka in the back, knocks him over. Everyone has a laugh. Gets up. Complete accident. No one's at fault. Grade 2 he's been charged with, and he's accepted the week because if he fights it, what's he going to fight? I didn't run into the referee. Everyone saw you in the referee. 2 identical. 24 hours later, 2 completely different outcomes. What the flip?
You can't tell me that Jerome Luai non-charge is not because they didn't get that call wrong where he tackled the player in the air. You can't convince me otherwise that they haven't turned around and gone, Jesus, not only did we penalise him for something that he didn't do, but now we have to suspend him for accidentally running into a referee. Yeah, cool. We'll let it go. And then it happens. They give the charge sheet out Monday morning. Jerome Luai's not charged. And then it happens at 4 o'clock, you just see everyone in that room just go, the Trent Barrett meme.
Yeah, it was so bad. I cannot believe he's been suspended. Don't forget, Jerome Luai last year pushed a linesman out of the way to celebrate. Again, there's no malice in it. We blew up at the time saying he hit him. He didn't. It was just an accident. Things happen. In AFL, any contact is suspended, right? You have to get out of the referee's way or the umpire's way. Sometimes it's just, it can't be helped, and that's how I feel about Dylan Brown.
What about last year? Jerome Hughes had eyes on the ball, only eyes on the ball, and he runs into the referee and cops 2 weeks for it.
That's right. It almost cost him the Dally M, didn't it?
Almost cost him. If he got suspended one more time, he wouldn't have been able to get the Dally M medal.
It's just an absolute joke. Like I've written an article that's going to go up, and we'll discuss this at the end of the show, that says these inconsistencies, and fans are blowing up, and people are like, oh, you only worry about when you're your team. It's because every team's been wronged and agreed by this. Just a couple of weeks ago, the Tigers had 3-6 against go against them, and it was an automatic sin bin. The Dogs did it this past weekend against Parramatta, and there was no automatic sin bin because they were inside the 10s instead of ruck penalties. Like, it's the exact same thing. So you're telling me, Terry, that we can line up all day offside and break it up? No, you're not getting automatic sin bin. It's all good. These inconsistencies, we laugh because it's funny when referees fall over them, and we laugh because they're okay, and obviously it was a complete accident. Mm-hmm. I want to run into a referee if the wall was a referee right now and bash my head against it at this garbage we have to keep eating.
Yeah, look, I think, oh God, I can't remember the play. I think it was Ben Roberts when he was playing for Parramatta, it was against the Dragons in that dreadful weather where it was 2-1 and Parramatta scored. Oh, no, sorry, it was 2-1 to St George. Parramatta kicked a field goal, then St George kicked 2 field goals and scored a try, and the final score was 8-1, and we got a scoregami. And there was a scrum play, and that's what the Dragons scored of, and Ben Roberts just blatantly pushed the referee in the back. That's what you suspend a player for. If you two-hand shove a referee, that's what you suspend. If it's an accidental collision, like, do you remember when Tyson Frizzell ran past the referee and patted him on the back because he got in the way, and he just sort of patted and copped a week for it? Like, that's not what you suspend a player. The push is what you suspend the player for. This is, I know, referees are, they see. That neither of those were suspension worthy. But the fact that it was. They've turned around, they've looked at that one from Jerome Luai and gone, normally we suspend this, but given the fact that Jerome Luai hit that guy cleanly, we won't rub salt into the wound. 6 hours later that happens and the same guys in that room were sitting there going, how are we going to get out of this one?
Of all time. I just can't believe literally 24 hours, 2 different things, but it's going to keep happening until they do that review they promised they did that they absolutely didn't. Anyways, we're only going to do 6 points tonight because this one's going to take a little while. Earlier, you and I recorded a podcast and I said that I think Craig Fitzgibbon is, probably not the guy for the job and should be on his way out. And you said, well, who's going to replace him? Couldn't tell you. Last week, we both sat here and said that Mal Meninga's probably not the guy for the job for Perth. Who is? Kevin Walters? Okay, Mal's gone. We need an Aussie coach. It's Brad Fittler, who got laughed out of a New South Wales role that he probably didn't deserve in the first place. I'm here to say right now, Terry, that there is a huge lack of good coaches in the NRL at both NRL and rep level.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree with you. I'm trying to find, because someone said to me, the Melbourne Storm's assistant coach that they've got at the moment is the next one, and his name is Mark Brentnell. Couldn't tell you anything about him, but he's apparently the next big coach, right? But you're having a look at these teams that have taken the punt, like Cronulla, the Tigers, the Eels, the Warriors, right? These are the ones just off the top of my head at the moment who have rookie coaches, and if you were to go and sack them for Mark Brentnell, all you're doing is saying, well, the first rookie failed, now we've got to put another rookie in there. And whilst that is refreshing, the top level of elite coaches is just, like, I don't even consider Wayne Bennett elite anymore because of how things ended at Brisbane, how things didn't work out for him at the Dolphins, South Sydney not going so good at the moment. I think Wayne Bennett is slowly, like, I think he's the greatest coach of all time. But I think, current, he's being pegged back. You're looking at your elite coaches, obviously, Craig Bellamy is head and shoulders above everyone. Then you're having a look at Cleary. And then there's a long gap to the consistency of the next. Like, Todd Payton has been up and down. Andrew Webster had a top 4 with the Warriors. Then they finished 13th. Now they're in the top 4 again. If he keeps zigzagging like that, you're going to call him a good coach. You're not going to call him a great coach. People want Craig Fitzgibbon sacked for finishing 2nd, 6th, 4th, and now 5th. Doesn't make sense to me, right? It doesn't, and I think the reason why people are turning around and saying, sack Craig Fitzgibbon is because we expected more. But you're in the finals every year. Once you get to the finals, anything could happen. But the fact that there is not this group of unemployed coaches, like, who's the best unemployed coach at the moment? Brad Arthur?
Probably.
Would you be happy with that?
Not really. He had a good stint at Parramatta, but he never won anything, and he was
Name the best coach in the Super League.
Brad Arthur, isn't he over there?
Oh no, I don't think he's over there anymore, is he?
I don't know. The only Super League games I've watched are the first 10 minutes.
But who's the Wigan coach?
Couldn't tell you. I think Sean something.
Yeah, is it Sean Wayne?
I believe so. I'm pretty sure, but don't quote me on that.
Would you be happy if he came and took over Cronulla tomorrow?
Yeah, Wigan have been pretty good.
Yeah.
Probably the only one that you could really twist my arm if I'm being 100% serious.
Yep. So if Cronulla played Wigan tomorrow, who do you think would win?
Now, Wigan.
Yeah, Wigan. Despite
20,
the fact that Wigan are terrible in the Super League.
hey, back-to-back defending champions, mate. I would back Cronulla, obviously, but you make a good point. Like, there's no one. All the names we've heard linked to like the Bears. You know, Josh Hannay wanted to go. He's been turned down by multiple teams. Brad Arthur, I don't think was ever the go. I don't think Mal Meninga's good. I think Laurie Daly's lucky he's against Billy Slater in this thing. I think Billy Slater only looked good as a coach because Brad Fittler was so bad. Everyone's saying Trent Barrett, you know, Anthony Seibold's a pariah at Manly. They want him gone. Madge Maguire's already talking about leaving Brisbane because the players don't like how hard he trains. I can't think of a time. It's like the Premier League. Sam Allardyce, Wayne.
Yeah,
Sam Allardyce.
I was gonna say that, like the Premier League. Remember when they used to recycle Allardyce, Pardew?
Same things all the time. Like I don't know what the answer is, and I don't know whether there's a New South Wales Cup coach that's burning the house down. Obviously, you look at the Newtown. They won last year, but they're going like bastards now. So Nadir or whatever his name is, George, he's not there. You know, maybe there's a good flag coach or someone we can't name. If you've got any names, leave them in the comments. So I'm struggling at the moment, but I honestly can't think of a time where the coaching ranks were quite so poor.
I can't help you with that one either, mate. Better the devil you know. Hey everyone, thank you for tuning in to another episode of the Knock On Podcast, brought to you by the good people of Zero Tackle. Don't have the shirt on tonight, I apologise for that. But Zero Tackle, your one-stop shop for all things rugby league. They've got player news, signings, transfers, contracts, the best independent writers giving you the best stories, power rankings that don't make sense, and I will die on that hill. You get the 20-1 thoughts, you get everything's happened, landing spots. We're getting hit pieces this week. Dan, who are you hitting on?
Not one, but two. The NRL are going to cop it tomorrow morning. By the time this publishes, around 10 o'clock, my good mate Scotty reliably informs me, there will be a piece that questions how seriously, if at all, the NRL took the supposed review last year. And then depending on how Thursday night goes, there's one in the draft that says that Craig Fitzgibbon ain't it. Going to push it back if we beat the Dragons, we being the Sharks. If not, it's going live Friday morning and we're going to have a lot of fun with it. But we'll be back next week before Origin. I'm looking forward to it. I am not. I don't look forward to this week's round of rugby league, and I don't say that often. There's a couple of pretty ordinary games there. But we'll be here next week on the Knock On Podcast.